success they wanted to play. So,
yeah.
Good.
All right, great intro. Well, look, we'll get started. Everything seems to be operational. So we're here today for the next episode down at the UTSA facility, home of the Roadrunners. And it really is a special guest. Coach Derek Pittman, UTSA head coach, has invited us down. Myself and Brendan have just been out to watch your girls train. He said we're chatting a little bit about the spring season. You have a few friendlies on the horizon. But it was a really, really good training session, and we appreciate the opportunity. So let's introduce you and then get into it, because we're going to dive in today of what building a winning culture in a Division I program is all about. So thanks for your time. So UTSA Roadrunners, 20 years as a program.
Yes.
Coach Pittman, 8 years as the head coach. 2 conference championships in the last 4 years. 3 championships in 3 different conferences. And is there anything else we've missed off that list, Coach Pittman, of the accolades before we get going?
No, I think we're good. But Martin, Brandon, thank you guys. Appreciate you having me on. Excited to be able to talk some soccer, some football with you guys, and talk about where our program, started and ultimately where we are and where we want to go, and any opportunity that we can talk about the game here in San Antonio and continue growing it with so many amazing people here in San Antonio is a lot of fun to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's amazing being down there. Well, let's start with the foundation then. Can you kind of walk us through your journey to the UTSA, and for anyone that doesn't know, kind of like your background?
Yeah, no, happy to share. Like, I've been doing this for 25 seasons now, 25 years at the college level. I grew up in Oklahoma, just outside of Tulsa, small little town. Grew up playing, actually, one of the unique stories. I was one of the first, we're part of one of the very first teams for Tulsa Soccer Club, old TSC, which is now, still exists, but this club have been around for quite some time now, and played as a goalkeeper. One of my very first college coaches was Randy Waldrum, who's very, very well known here in the state of Texas, and obviously on a national scale, having won national championships at Notre Dame. He's now head coach at University of Pittsburgh. He's done a tremendous amount for this game. Randy was my college coach for my first 2 years at the University of Tulsa. And then he was the one that first really encouraged me to kind of start taking on licenses. And he was very, very big into coach education at that time. And as a player, my sophomore year, he encouraged me to take my D license with U.S. Soccer at that time. Did it over a course of a couple weekends. And, just kind of, something I was fortunate enough to be able to put in my back pocket. And I didn't really give a whole lot of thought to it at that time. But as a goalkeeper, we tend to see the game from that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of where that maybe the first bug or the first little seed was planted. Went on to play. Randy left. That would have been back in '95. Randy left to go start the program at Baylor. And then Tom McIntosh, who's still the head men's soccer coach at the University of Tulsa, still to this day. He's been there for over 30 years.
Wow.
He came on. He had played at Tulsa, and I played for him in my final 2 years. Graduated from the University of Tulsa in 1998. Tried to work in the real world for a couple of years.
How did that
go? And to be fair, right out of college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And so it was quickly got an opportunity to start coaching actually in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'd moved there for a different job and was coaching in Little Rock, Arkansas with Little Rock Football Club. Was coaching the U13, U14 boys team, coached them for a year, and then got the opportunity to come back to Tulsa as a graduate assistant. Okay. So started my college coaching career in 2001 at the University of Tulsa on the men's side, coaching goalkeepers 01, 02, and then got my first full-time assistant job at the University of Georgia in 2003. Worked for Sue Patberg, who was the head coach at that time, who was actually also our head coach for our U17 women youth national team on the women's side. And so I got to learn a lot from her in the year I was there, and then quickly moved to the University of Missouri, worked for Brian Blitz, who was there for over 20 years, had a tremendous career coaching at Mizzou, and then got my first head job at Arkansas State, was there for 3 years, then moved up to the Northwest, was at Gonzaga for 4 years, then the head coaching job at Idaho for 4 years, and then now here at UTSA. So I've plopped around a lot of different places, but fortunately for me, that each step along the way has taught me something new, has taught me, it's forced me to grow. It's been better for myself professionally, but also for my wife and I, from a personal standpoint. Met my wife. She played soccer at the University of Missouri. And she was a talented player there, all conference player. So we're a soccer family through and through. Neither of my kids play,
Right.
but
Did they play any sports?
My oldest enjoys soccer. She loves sitting and watching some Manchester United games with me in the course of the weekend, but she's much more familiar. She enjoyed some cross country running. She's super academically driven and artistic. She's had a lot of success. Artistically, has had a couple of her pieces put into a couple showcases, which has been really, really cool to see.
Nice.
I don't know where she gets it because it's not from me.
Right.
But our youngest is 13 in 8th grade. She plays volleyball. So
okay.
It's like, Dad, you know nothing about volleyball. I said, you are absolutely correct. I do not know anything about it, but I know about coaching. So
are you a good sideline parent?
I keep my mouth shut. I do my best to say nothing and just cheer on our kids. But my wife is a school teacher here in San Antonio. Has been for the last 5 years. He teaches kindergarten, and we absolutely love being here in the 210. We absolutely loved our time here at UTSA and what we're building here.
That was good. So out of those experiences, you mentioned quite a few there. Was there one like in particular that shaped you the most as a coach? Is there anything that stands out?
I think each one of them has definitely taught me something along the way. I think a couple different things. I think my first head job at Arkansas State back in 2007, I was a young coach. Honestly, didn't have a game model, didn't have any idea. All I knew that we were going to be a blue collar gritty team. Right. And it was a lot of elbow grease and blood, sweat, and tears that we poured. I took over a team that had won one game the year prior, and so anything was going to be up, right? I got in there, and just it was, in all honesty, looking back, it was a perfect job for me as my first head coaching job because anything was going to be positive, and I just wanted to invest in the young people and put ourselves in a position. But I would say my time at Gonzaga after that, under Amy Edwards, who was my boss at that time, I was the associate head coach. Learned a tremendous amount of stuff about sports science. She really was big into, at that time, this is back in 2010, 11, 12. She was really investing in the GPS, periodization. That's when I started kind of trying to learn this 15 years ago. And I always say, still to this day, I know just enough to be dangerous. I think I learned a lot from her. And then it was my job at Idaho that really learned how to create a game model. What did I want? How did I want us to be out of possession? How did I want us to be in possession? What were some of the things that I really wanted to instill in our players from a culture standpoint? And we had a lot of success. We won two league championships in the 4 years I was there.
Yeah.
We went from being 4-14 our first year to 14-4 our second year, and made a complete flip. Had some really good results. Was able to recruit a lot of kids from California up to the University of Idaho. I'd say those kind of 3 steps: learning what I didn't know at Arkansas State, really gaining a lot of knowledge at Gonzaga, going back and being an assistant again, and then being able to implement that in my next opportunity at Idaho has really shaped who I am. And I really got to be really comfortable in my own skin about, like, this is who I am as a coach.
Yeah.
This is what I'm about.
We were chatting during the training session, and we touched on like philosophies and the game model you've just mentioned there. Like, for the audience then, can you describe your philosophy now? And how it's changed over the years and your thoughts on the modern game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the unique thing is everybody is, over the last 10, 15 years, everybody wants to follow the possession, build out of the back, all those different things. And I love that side of the game. I have zero issue with it. That's just not me. My teams are always going to have a blue-collar, gritty, tough mentality, competitiveness about them that I think is our superpower. And so we're comfortable controlling the game without the ball. So our 3 or 4 core things about our game model is, first and foremost, is relentless organized pressing. every time, if you came out to watch our training session or watched our team play for the first time, we're going to be extremely organized in how we press, and we want to be relentless in that. I go to the point where I tell our players, I don't want the other team to get into any sort of rhythm. If they are able to connect, we if you want to get into the stats, the PPDA, right, the passes per defensive action, we really try to keep that as low as possible. That's something that we press upon our kids. Like, I don't want a team to complete more than 4, 5, 6 passes before they have some sort of defensive action that our team is trying to win the ball back. So that's always going to be huge for us, how we're organized, regardless of what our shape is. I don't get hung up on formations or shapes, etc. I think those are just pure and simply starting positions.
Yeah.
If you're a winger in club, you might turn out to be the best outside back possible in the college game, depending, or a wing back or what have you. So some of my best defenders were wingers that I turned around and turned them into outside back. So for me, that's a big piece of it. And then after that, we talk a lot. The second piece of our game is fast attacking football. As soon as we win the ball, can we punish teams by going forward fast? If we can't, then we want to be able to keep the ball. And that's areas that we're continuing to evolve in, and being able to keep the ball when it is not on for us to go forward. Third piece is going to be competitive toughness and physicality. We lead the league every year in fouls. And I'm not. I am
nothing
awesome.
wrong.
Yeah, that's
I have no issue with it, and it's nothing malicious in the sense of
it's a competition.
Exactly, and I want the other team to be so uncomfortable that when they have a ball coming to them, if they are not spot on with their passing, if they're not spot on with their change of point of attack, etc., our team is going to basically, you're going to get a tackle, you're going to get an interception.
Yeah, you pay for it. You pay for it if you're
absolutely, and so. We talk a lot about that physicality, and we talk a lot about the willingness to put our faces and our heads where other people won't put their feet. We want to be the most brave, courageous, aggressive team on the pitch, depending on who we're playing. And then if there's a fourth piece of it, a subcategory is set pieces. We've scored over the last 5-6 years of my time being here. We averaged at least 35 to 40% of our goals come off of set pieces.
Can we stay on that for one second? Because in the youth game, I don't really train set pieces with my young players.
No.
We don't defend them very well. We don't attack them very well. I neglect them in training. But at the level that you're playing at in a Division 1 program, how long are you spending on set pieces in your weekly training?
Yeah, no, I mean, once we get into season and we're running, Thursday, Sunday games, we're probably still spending about an hour a week on set pieces. So we'll try to find 20 minutes a day, if you will.
In each session.
To go through it. And we do some different things. Sometimes it's walkthrough. Sometimes it's live. So it just really just depends, again.
Yeah.
One day might be, hey, we need to improve our set pieces, so we're just focused on us. And then the next one might be, hey, listen, we anticipate our opponent's going to do this. This is how they're going to defend, or this is how they're going to attack. But I think I would like to think that as the game, as you move up in levels, the margin between teams is so
super
minimal.
thin.
It could be the difference between you winning a game or losing a game, right?
Yep.
100%.
I know we're going to get into it, but our game against Memphis in the semifinal, all 3 goals came off of set pieces. All 3 goals came off of those moments where we had, one of them was, well, 2 of them for directly off set pieces. Another one was phase 2 of it. But, rebounds, and it may not be the initial ball that gets whipped in. It oftentimes is the rebound, the phase 2, phase 3, the second stuff where people check out and forget. And then also just the courage and the bravery it takes to put yourself in those positions. But set pieces are a massive piece in the college game, because some people make it a priority and some people don't. And I think it can absolutely be the separator when you have 2 teams that are really, really closely competitive.
Yeah, thanks for expanding on that.
Yeah.
So we'll move on. When we were chatting about setting this up, team culture came up a lot. You mentioned team culture multiple times. You said it's been a direct contributor to your success, something really valuable for you and your team. Can you expand on then the cultural side of the UTSA Roadrunners, your values?
Yeah, no. Listen, I don't fancy myself as some genius when it comes to X's and O's and tactics, etc. I mean, I have my ways of how I see the game and my perspective.
Yeah.
but I think the biggest thing for me is what is your team culture on a day-to-day basis. And it's not just about words on the wall. It's about how we live out our choices and our behaviors and our actions every day. So I think those are things that are all within our control. We can't control the opponent. We can't control the weather. You can't control the referees, etc. You have to only control how we respond to those things and ultimately what we do. And so some of the stuff that I learned along the way and some of the stops that I had was, how do I develop a culture and a set of core values that mattered to us most? And we did that at Idaho. And the very first preseason, we did that here. So when I got here in 2018, the team had gone through kind of a tumultuous, roller coaster with the previous coaching staff. And so some new leadership obviously needed to be brought in. And one of the big things I hang my hat on is our culture and our core values. But it's not me. It's yes, hopefully they are a reflection of me and who I am as I coach, and I live out those things. But what we did is we sat down with our entire team and we went through a series of 6, 7, 8, 9 meetings about who do we want to be. First and foremost, who are we, right? And what do we like about it? Is that, are there things in there we want to keep? Are there things we want to eliminate? Are there things we want to change, tweak, whatever it was? So we just talked about who are we, who do we want to be, and where do we want to go?
Right.
And so through that, we sat down and came up with our 3 core values. Our 3 core values are team, grit, and integrity. And you'll see that in everything that we do. And that's actually the logo that we have, our soccer crest is specifically.
It's all plastered over the signage on your training facility and game facility as well, isn't it? It's everywhere you walk around.
So that is a symbol. The 3 panels on the soccer ball represent our 3 core values. And so the Alamo on the top of the ball was something I'd worked in. We want to represent the city.
So you came up with that? That wasn't there before?
No. We developed this through COVID. It was kind of after we kind of put the core values in together. And then I worked with our creative services department here on campus and kind of put this together. And so the circle around it is we run as one. We want to do everything as a unified group. The city of San Antonio, obviously being the Alamo, obviously the ball, the sport we love and play. The 3 panels on the ball are our 3 core values, and then the stars represent the 3 conference championships we've been fortunate enough to win. So team, grit, and integrity are our core values, and so we talk about that every single day. Before training, and it's in our scouting reports. What does team look like today? What does grit look like? What does integrity? And sometimes those answers can seem a bit repetitive, but we really challenge our players of, listen, in this training session or in this 5v5 or this 9v9 or 11v11 game, whatever we're doing, what does team look like for you? And so we talk about it's about us, not me, right? It's about something bigger than me. I've got to go out and do my job and help my teammates do their jobs. So we talk a lot about communication. We talk about community. We talk about just growing. That's the whole team. We talk about grit and toughness. I want players that are problem solvers. And my most important trait I hope I teach my players that have played through here is it's not about what happens to you. It's about how you respond. And regardless of what the scoreboard says, regardless of the grade that you got on the exam, regardless of breaking up in a relationship, whatever it is, what is your response in everything you do? It is, you can look at it through the lens of woe is me and be a victim, or you can look at it through the lens of I need to roll my sleeves up and go back to work. And so we talk about that all the time. And it even showed this past Saturday. We played poor in our first game, and my pure and simple challenge was, what is your response going to be? And we came out in the second game and we were much, much better and played to our level of standard and our expectations. And so we talk about grit and toughness. We have a phrase in our team called SFP, solve the effing problem is basically what it stands for. Right. And all of our kids know it. Yep. And it's like, you're in a moment where I'll use an example. You're in a moment where we've trained all week for a team to come out in a 4-3-3, and all of a sudden that lineup, they come out in a 3-5-2. Yeah. Well, I don't get to call a timeout and go, hey, let's go put this on the tactics board. This is how we're going to maneuver. Yeah. Talk about it. Like, the bottom line is solve the effing problem in the game. Figure it out.
On the fly.
On the fly. We set piece. You go down a man, and you get somebody sent off, or you're, whatever the case may be, you're down 2 goals early in the game. Referee makes a call. Blah, blah. Move on. We're not going to sulk it and sulk about it and move on. We've got to basically pick ourselves up and go. So that response, that grit, that toughness, that competitiveness should always shine through. And then last being integrity.
Yeah.
Do what you say you're going to do.
Right.
Be a person of your word. So all of that to be said, we recruit to that. I will sit in this exact room with a recruit and our parents and basically talk about those things. And if those things if you're not in line with those things, then please don't choose to come here, because we're going to coach you to these values. We're going to ask you to live these things out in the classroom. We're going to ask you to live these things out in the community, and we're going to ask you to live these things out in competition.
Yeah.
And if you're not on board with doing that, then this is going to be a miserable experience, because this is how we live. This is what we do each and every day. And so I feel like I have a locker room full of what I call high character, hardworking kids that love to compete. And if they do that and they're in line with our values, we usually have a really good experience here.
How hard? Sorry, Mark.
No,
Just
sorry, mate.
we talked a little bit before, just like the youth sport culture and stuff like that. Yeah. Is there like a betting in period for players where, like, because at the youth level, like the team, the grit, the integrity, like at times it's players prioritize themselves to get to these opportunities. So I guess, is there a time where a player comes in and they're like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm all about the team. I've committed to this. I'm going to say this. I'm going to do the right things. And they get here. Like, how quickly can you find a player out, I guess, is
it
the question.
Happens pretty quick.
Yeah.
Honest to be, and listen, I don't know how other, coaches do it.
Right.
For me, we lay the groundwork pretty quickly in the recruiting process. So we're very upfront before a kid commits. And I've gone as far as, talent, culture matters. You got to have talent. You obviously you want to recruit the highest talent possible. Yeah. But I'm hoping I'm recruiting high talented kids that want to be a part of something really,
that'll buy
really
in.
special.
Yeah, exactly.
And be bought it.
Yeah.
And we've got tons of examples of that. But at the end of the day, we talk about, we are going to push you. You chose to come here because you're going to be challenged, you're going to be pushed, you're going to be made uncomfortable.
Right.
And if you're not okay with being uncomfortable, which I think, I'm a firm believer that the only way you grow is by being made uncomfortable, by being challenged. We don't grow in our comfort zone. There's just, it doesn't happen. And I don't care. That's a life lesson, right? So like, anytime I've been made uncomfortable, it's forced me to either run away from the problem or stand up and find out who I'm made of and what I'm about. So we talk about that all the time with our team, and so you find out pretty quickly, because I'm a hard coach. I'm not afraid of raising my voice. I'm not afraid of holding kids accountable. Right. I'm not afraid of calling kids out when they're not doing the little details, because I'm a firm believer that if you do the details right, the big results will come. Mm-hmm. And but all of that is out of love. And so first and foremost, through the recruiting process, we want to make sure that we have a good relationship with the player, so that they understand that I'm for you, right. I'm not against you. And I'm going to
push you,
kick you in the tail if you need it, right? Like, and some kids respond to that really well. Yeah. And I know we've talked about some of those kids and who they are and the families they come from and what they're about. But it's becoming harder and harder to find, because so many of these club kids, the top level kids across the country, have either had their parents or the club coaches, because they're most talented, they get coddled. And now they come to an environment like this, or a D1 environment, regardless whether it's P4 or mid-major, what have you. And now I've got a coach.
They're getting checked on some things that hasn't happened before.
I've got a coach telling me that I'm not good enough in this area, or yes, I have this strength and this strength, but I have these weaknesses.
Right.
And he wants me to work on those things, or he's going to hold me accountable to those things. Now it becomes really, really uncomfortable when you find out a kid's resilience, their toughness, 100%. Their mentality, and their mindset. And I think that's critical. And we try to ask some really difficult questions in the recruiting process to kind of find out what their mindset's like, right? Because if you don't have the mindset, I love kids that have had to work and have a job through high school, like, and not just have mom and daddy drive them around. I'll be honest with you. Like, and again, I'm not knocking parents. I mean, I'm no different. I'm trying to give my kids the best life I can possibly give them, maybe better than what I had when I was growing up, what have you. That's our goal as parents. But at the same time, I also don't ever want to, I tell my kids, is we're talking like my 13-year-old, like, don't ever complain to me about your coach.
Yeah.
Your coach is trying to do everything they can to get the most out of you so that the team can have success. I am no different.
Yeah.
Like at the college level, results matter, and I'm and I've had some of my players, well, God, it's so overwhelming. You're really, really pushing me. I was like, I'm coaching you to be the player that I see you as, not the player you currently are
right now.
Yeah. And if that means that I'm making you uncomfortable or challenging or kicking you in the butt from time to time,
comes from a good place,
But
also, which I don't think people realize.
You have to win games at the college level.
Yep.
You have to win games.
Yep.
This isn't youth development.
Correct.
This is jobs are on the line.
Right.
You know, livelihoods are on the line. We have to win games.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
to your point and to Brendan's point there, how do you handle these players that don't fit the culture? I mean, do you give them a chance, or is it out the door straight away? Or, I mean,
It's tough.
Case by case, I would imagine. Yeah.
I was just going to say, they don't want to get in line with your values or anything like that. Well, how do you handle it?
I think if we're having that conversation of they're just not buying into who we are and what we signed up for, then it has to be a direct conversation pretty quickly. As soon as you feel that has gone awry and we're no longer in line, and whatever the reason is, whether I'm asking something of you that you're just unwilling to give and you don't feel like, and if that's the case, then we're going to sit down and have a conversation. Okay, well, this just isn't working. Let's stop trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
Like, let me, in today's age with the transfer portal, obviously you never want kids to leave your program.
Yeah.
But the main reason why a kid leaves our program is because either they're not getting the minutes that they want and they want to play and they came to college to have an impact on the field.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they've been either out recruited or beat out by an older player or whatever, better player, whatever the case is, or they're just simply not fitting into what we're doing stylistically or culturally. And if those things aren't in line, then let's sit down and let's talk about how can I help you.
Do they get a chance to fix it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm a firm believer we have at least 3 scheduled individual meetings with every player every semester. So if a kid's with us from August to May, they've had at least 6 scheduled meetings,
in-person meetings
with us. That does not count all the times when they might grab coffee with an assistant coach, or they might have a chat with me after a training session, or they might sit down and have a film session with or another assistant coach to talk about. Like, those happen probably
dozens
of times per semester. So they're getting feedback, and I'm a firm believer that champions want feedback because it's fuel. People that are uncomfortable with feedback are not the competitors we want. If you view feedback as criticism to like tear you down, then this isn't going to work. If you are a person that wants and thrives on the feedback because it's going to be fuel for you to go out and work and get better, then awesome. Yep. And I think, again, it's 2 different ways to look through it, 2 different lenses, right? Depending on how you're going about things. And so we really over communicate. And I tell to my players all the time, I'm never going to lie to you. I'm never going to and now granted, it's from my lens as a coach. This is what I see. This is what I've witnessed over time. I'm going to give you as many opportunities as I possibly can in training to fix the things we need to. And, because I never got a chance in a game. No offense, you don't get the right to play in a game just because you're on the roster. Right.
You have 5 days or 3 days a week to prove you should be playing on the weekend.
Every day in train.
Correct.
If you're not making a case for yourself. And I tell the team all the time, is that make me look like an idiot for not playing you.
Yeah.
And if we're winning and you're on the bench, that's just
an
the
answer
nature
to the question itself, essentially. Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
And so, and all that to be said, like, I'll be honest, over the last 4 years, guys, our APR here every year is 1,000, meaning that every kid that's left our program has either gone on to land in another program or gone on to just go to school if they wanted to stop playing soccer or whatever it was. I found them home.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
And so it's not like, yes, we've had people leave our program, and some of them have decided, like, man, I really wanted this Division I level, and then they get here and they're like, oh, wait a minute, this is a lot harder than what I expected. Exactly. And so I don't want to work this hard. Okay, that's fine. How do I help you go to maybe a lower level or whatever that might be? How do I help you find a place where you're going to be happiest? Some coaches or some kids look at it and go, I don't even know if I really want to play at this level anymore. I want to go just be a normal student.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. I got no issue with that.
Yeah.
Like, the last thing I want you to do is sit in our locker room and do it because your mom and dad told you to do it, or do it because that's just all what you've always done, right? Like you have to be
make your own decision at that point,
and you got to be borderline obsessed
Yeah.
with this, because if you're not borderline obsessed with I love training, all I want to do is get out with a ball, all I want to do is watch film, all I want to do is study my game to see if I can become a better player for my teammates. If you don't want to do that, then you're probably going to have a struggle at the highest level. And we've worked to where now we are recruiting players that constantly are talking about, how do I play at the next level, coach? Like you go into our lounge, we got some jerseys that are framed that are, kids that have gone on to play pro over in Europe. And again, we're not putting any kids in the NWSL. I want to be really clear, right? But we are placing some kids. I've got a kid over in Iceland. I've got a kid over in Italy. I've got a kid over in Ireland.
That's cool.
Yeah. And the thing is you can go pro from here. Now, can you quite get to the NWSL? Maybe, hopefully one day. But if you want to keep playing, there's avenues and opportunities for you to go play in different places. And hopefully we're providing that by pushing them to love this game enough and be obsessed with this game enough to want to keep getting better.
We watched the training session this morning, and the girls looked like they were having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you mentioned a couple of times about the speed of play, but they were getting after it, and there were a lot of cheering, a lot of celebrating. Looks like they enjoy being out there. There's one thing I noticed. Looks like there's a lot of accountability. Assistant coach, when he stopped it, he'd make his coaching points, and then the two teams or the groups of the girls, they go off and they talk to themselves.
Yep.
I assume that's like to solve some problems, or what do we need to do better, etc. So what role do you have? Well, number one, do you have leadership groups? And then what role do they and the captains play within your team culture?
Yeah, so in the spring, I try to really create the most open, I guess, environment for any leadership skill to come forward, right? So I don't have it nailed down that, hey, these are our three captains or these are our leadership groups, et cetera. So in the spring, we wanted to provide opportunities for everybody to step into a leadership role, because I firmly believe that every player in our locker room has a leadership responsibility. Again, it might just be to lead the person standing next to you.
Yeah.
But for others, it might be to lead the whole group, in a 5v5 game. Others, it might be, again, having a big voice when it comes to 11v11. And others, they have a really big voice when it comes to our locker room to help solve problems, right? So I don't ever want to rule a kid out. So we do a couple things during the spring where we will pick 2 players every training session. You're the captain for this session. And if things go awry, I'm coming to you.
Yeah.
If we break off into groups, I should hear your voice, and trying to give them opportunities to speak up.
That's what they were doing this morning.
Yeah. It's kind of that's what we did before spring break. So what's now happening is it's happening a little more organically. So now I haven't picked anybody to run it specifically, but now you're on 2 teams, and once Scott, myself, or Colleen give some feedback, like, hey, we need. And everything we try to do feedback-wise is in line with our game model. How are we pressing? How are we attacking? How are we being physical and competitive? And so sometimes maybe we're playing really, really good football, but we're not defending and getting the ball back fast enough. Or maybe we're being soft in our tackles.
Yeah.
Usually a lot of the times, most of the instructions come out of those veins. So we talked to the team about, now you guys have to decide what are the 1 or 2 things. What's one thing in possession? What's one thing out of possession that you need to fix in order before he blows the whistle and the next game starts, right? So, and they need to all be on the same page with that. And so we really try to encourage them to have those conversations during the spring, so we can develop leaders, we can develop their communication, we can develop their ability to cohesiveness to get on the same page with one another. And some people struggle with it. Yeah. Some people don't. Like, some people are abrasive in their communication. Some people are too soft in their communication. And then we take, and we just try to evaluate that interaction and look at it and kind of keep that in the back of our head, so that when we come back in the preseason in August and everything gets amped up, because we're now getting ready for games in preparation, now we start to look at, okay, what do we remember from the spring? What are some players that kind of, cream rise to the top, if you will, from a leadership standpoint? What is best for the group? I've gone through seasons where I've had 0 captains, and all of the leadership had to come from our coaching staff, because I just didn't feel like there was any particular player that was going to take on that responsibility. Right. And other times I've had, last year we had 2 captains. I had a captain, Zoe May, and Cam Closer was our co-captain. Year before that, I had a kind of a leadership group of 5 that I think they all had something to contribute. And then I picked the 2 captains every game day out of those 5. Okay. And they kind of would sometimes rotate. So I've done it a multitude of different ways. Man, I've gotten it wrong, and sometimes I've gotten it right. And but my hope is that we're providing an atmosphere and an environment for our players to step and grow as leaders, to have a voice. Because I'm a firm believer that a silent team is a selfish team. If you are silent, you're being selfish. Right. Because you're too afraid to say something and possibly be wrong. Or you're only thinking about yourself, and you're not. And I'm a firm believer that the more I can get you to think about the person standing on my right and my left and in front and in back, then it takes the spotlight off of me. I'm trying to help them do their job. They're trying to help me do my job. And we're now, you show me a loud team, and I'm going to show you a championship team. If they're loud, and if they're like cheering each other on to what that's why we have music playing at training. That's why, how are you dealing with the distractions, competing and having fun during the session? Okay. Yeah.
You guys keep talking about a certain Memphis game. And I feel a little bit left out, because Brendan was like, I saw it on ESPN Plus, and it was a hell of a game. So let's have a real life example where the culture has directly impacted the performance. I assume this was one of the standout moments.
Yeah, it's a pretty signature moment for us last season, and we had a lot of signature. I would even say, going back through last season, opening weekend. Well, I'd even back up to our first exhibition game. Our exhibition game against the University of Texas, we lost the game 2-0, but we took it to them. We didn't back down. We didn't pack it in and put 10 or park the bus around the top of the box. We tried to press them. We tried to make them uncomfortable. And yes, we got exposed, but it helped kind of our kids open their eyes and go, you know what,
we can do this.
Yeah, we might be able to play against them. And then opening weekend, we hosted Houston and TCU here. And, Houston, Ben's done a phenomenal job. Pete's done a phenomenal job there. They were kind of coming back to our area. They'd whipped our butts in the spring 3-0. So we took them all the way down to 0-0 into regulation. We actually had a penalty to win the game.
We were at that. That was a club night. I remember that. Yeah. We had a freshman take it, I think.
Freshman,
that's right.
Brooklyn Bailey. Yeah. Stands up, smashes it, and hits the post.
Yeah.
And misses. And, it would have been nice to nick that win, but I think the 0-0 tie was a fair result. But again, it showed our kids of like, okay, we can play with these teams. And then turn around the next game and play against TCU, who went all the way to the Final Four this past year and was consistently one of the top 10 teams in the country. They came to our place and it was a big game plan, because TCU does a bunch of different rotations in their shape and the way they're playing style, et cetera. And our kids did a phenomenal job. It took them all the way till the 79th minute, 80th minute to be able to get the winner. They beat us 1-0. But again, our kids walked out of that weekend with a tie against Houston and a narrow loss against TCU, going, okay, like we might be able to have something special. So that carried on throughout the season. We had some really positive results. We had some, you had some dips, typical stuff. We rattled off 7 or 8 unbeaten games through conference play. And then, we even lost to Memphis in the regular season, so on and so forth. We win our last game against Temple in the regular season, and we went in as the 5 seed into the conference tournament.
Okay, nice. Okay.
Finished tied for 3rd in the league, but due to tiebreakers, we finished 5th. And so our first round game was against UAB, which we felt like we matched up really, really well against. We ended up beating them 2-1. It pretty comfortable result for us, but the kids just executed the game plan fantastic. Going into the tournament, we knew, and first of all, this is our first time being in the conference tournament for the American. We moved into the American in 2023.
Okay.
We finished 9th in the league, didn't make the conference tournament, only the top 8 go. So we missed out, finishing 9th. 2024, we finished tied for 8th. It came down to the last game of the season. We beat Florida Atlantic, but Tulsa scored on Memphis in the final 3 minutes of the game to tie it up 1-1. And because of that tie, Tulsa went to the tournament as a tiebreaker instead of us.
Those fine margins.
Fine
margins in the game, man.
Yeah, and so we miss out. We finished tied for 8th, but we miss out on the tournament. So 2025, again, our whole goal was make the conference tournament, make the conference tournament. If you make the conference tournament, you got a chance.
Yeah.
And we didn't care where they're going as an 8 seed or wherever. All roads are always going to lead through Memphis. Brooks Monaghan has done a phenomenal job. He's been over there for 20 plus years. He's won countless championships. I mean, he's one of the top 25 programs in the country on a regular basis. So we knew all roads led through them. So we sat down after winning the quarterfinal match, matched up against Memphis. We knew it was going to be a tall order. We had a specific game plan going into it. And we come out and we score first. First 15 minutes, 17 minutes, and I think it was in. We went up 1-0. Set piece, took a great shot. Kid spilled the rebound. Our kid is there to tie it, to put it in, basically, and go up 1-0. 7 minutes later, they come down and they score and make it 1-1. And so halftime's 1-1. Again, the game plan's working. We're going toe to toe with these guys. Eventually, they wore us down, score 2 goals in the 80th minute and the 84th minute. They score 2 goals and go up 3-1. So the last one being on a corner kick, we didn't really deal with it well. It was a rebound that dropped down. We go down 3-1.
And there's 6 minutes left.
6 minutes left. So I sub off my center back just to give her a break. Of course, in my head, at this point in time, I'm going, I might be preparing a post-game conversation of this is our end of our season, right? Because we're not going on to the NCAAs if we don't get this result. Straight off the kickoff, they clear the ball out. We pump it in. Their immediate ball comes clear, and our center back, Aaliyah Durden, steps in and pings this perfect pass right to BB, Brooklyn Bailey. She splits 2 defenders because they play with a sweeper stopper. And their sweeper and stopper both went to the same ball. BB gets there first, bypasses both of them, walks it in. It's 3-2.
They'd almost switch. It was a weird, like, they just elapsed in concentration from them.
Well, he had subbed off his 2 best players,
Yeah,
too.
he had to get him back on, right?
And he turned around and puts him right back on.
Yeah, it was a weird...
So do you think he got overconfident when they went
a little bit?
To take the 2 best players off?
Yeah, he took his 2 best players off. Ashley Henderson, who transferred to Florida State now.
Is she the one that missed the penalty in the...
Yeah. So, and then his Japanese kid, who's a top kid, takes both of them off. He thinks it's done at 3-1. And I'm not saying I wouldn't have done the same thing. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
we hadn't really created a whole lot.
I think we've
of
all done
chances.
that probably hundreds of times. Like, all right, game's done. Get off the field. Like,
Right.
take the
And
boots off.
Within 36 seconds of kickoff, we score
So it's
and make it 3-2.
So it's 3-2, yeah.
And so now it's like I send my center back on, and we make a couple of adjustments. He sends his 2 players back on. By then, though, they're rattled. And it's like, and you can see, I didn't know this at the time, but you could see apparently when the camera was facing their bench, they're all just like, so we continue pressing and we dump a ball in the corner. We get a foul deep in the corner, almost like a corner kick, about 10 yards off the end line. And we serve a ball in and it's all, everybody's forward, right? There's 2 minutes left. We dump it in, ricochets around, comes to our kid, Aaliyah Durden, pokes it in off of a header. And it's 3-3. Yeah. And obviously the team's going nuts. The their bench is like absolutely stunned. But we're still going to have to play overtime.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's going straight into pens. So we survived the next couple minutes. In fact, there was
a VAR check in there, right?
There was a VAR check. Yeah. There was a kid went by and beat our kid, and our kid puts out a leg, but the kid dives over it, and there was 0 touch to it. And thankfully, the referee, in the moment, she called the penalty.
Yeah.
And she goes back to VAR and reverses it, which is pretty rare.
Yeah.
And their bench is going crazy. They can't believe it. And our kid's like, Coach, I didn't touch her. And I'm like, I know. And I'm like, I just don't know if she's going to reverse this.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, she reverses it. We go into extra time. They have some chances. The overtime kind of was just kind of Like we had all kind of run out of gas. So we get to penalties. And we had been practicing penalties for quite some time. Jasmine Kessler's my goalkeeper. And she can absolutely smash a ball. And so I walk up to her and I go, hey, do you feel confident? And she'd practiced it. I said, do you feel confident that you can hit a penalty? And she goes, yeah. With some expletives. And I said, all right, so here's the deal. You're going to take the first pen. You're going to save 2. We're going to go to the final. We're going to win this thing. And she was like, okay. So she goes first, and then I had the order laid out after that. So they won the toss, and they chose to shoot first. And so I don't ever watch penalties. So I'm hiding.
I know someone else who doesn't do that.
I watch them; they just get saved or miss
okay.
the target quite a bit. For me.
I don't ever watch penalties, and so usually I'm spending it in prayer. So, but I'm hiding under the trainer's tent, and I told my goalkeeper coach Colleen, I said, "Listen, just tell me who's going,
Yeah.
and I will tell you which way she's going."
Is it just nerves that you don't want to watch?
Yeah,
a couple of our guys don't do it. They turn around and face the other way. Is it?
For me,
But there's so much on the line for you.
At times it is in those moments, but I'm just like, I can't do anything.
You have no control.
I have zero control, so I'm just, and I'll be honest, I'm a very big faith-based person, but like, I'm just literally, God, whatever happens in this moment, what I'm trying to do is manage my emotions.
Okay.
Like, regardless of whether we score it or we miss it, whatever happens, like, I'm trying to just tell myself, all right, good or bad, like, this is how I'm going to react.
Also, as a goalkeeper, we used to, like, I played goalkeeper. We used to have control. Like, we were the only person, really, outside the person taking it, that had any control. So now it is a weird, like, it's just you got.
So Colleen
nothing.
would just tell me, hey, such and such is about to take it. And so I'd studied enough, and we had studied enough, and I had the sheet of paper in front of me where I'm staring at, like, where these kids have typically gone. So first up is Ashley Henderson. Their number one best player. She has not missed a penalty all season. But I know she's pissed because she, one, got subbed off and had to go back on. Yeah. And two, she did not score any of the 3 goals in the game. And we had put her in our pocket. Cam Closa had played phenomenal. Yep. Aaliyah Durden had played phenomenal and put her in our pocket most of the game. And we talked about it. If they're going to beat us, it's going to be somebody else and not her. And so I was like, she's pissed. She's going to step up and just smash it. Send Kessler to her right. So she's your right-footed taker. And she does. And freaking Ashley, I think at the last second, sees Kess going the correct way, and she skies it 10 yards over.
Yeah.
And so she misses. And then now we know they're rattled. Well, Kessler forgets that she's supposed to be taking the first one. And we're screaming from the other end, Kess, you got. And finally the referee walks over and goes, I think you're supposed to. And she goes, oh, okay. And she's just typical goalkeeper. Just a little bit screws loose. But she walks up, smashes a hole in the net, finishes it. Next kid steps up. I believe it was their Japanese kid that took the second one. Yeah. I got that one wrong on which direction. I thought she was going to open her hips and play it to Kessler's left, the goalkeeper's left. She closed her hips and put it, at the other end. We make our second one, Zoe May. Third one comes up is a defender. And I'm like, the kid is putting it this direction. Kessler dives that way, and it goes wide.
Right.
And so they've only made one pen at this point in time. Our third kid, Bree Kerrigan, who they'd never seen. Oh, by the way, and that's a whole nother story we can get into. But Bree Kerrigan walks up, calmly puts it in the bottom corner. So we've scored 3. They've only scored 1. Their fourth taker comes up. And again, it was a defender who I felt was going to close her hips and basically smash it. Kessler goes the right way, makes the save, and we win the penalty. Mad. So
that's mad.
Yeah, they were number 3.
Man.
They were number 3 in the country. Had not lost a single game all season, and only had 1 tie. And so for us to knock them off and then send us into the final to play Rice and beat them in overtime and win the trophy was really, really special. And so you talk about, again, I know I'm explaining the game, but all of our core values, in my opinion, showed up in that. Yeah. Just how we stayed together as a team. We did whatever we needed to. We had asked them to execute a different game plan than what we had previously done. They carried it flawlessly. The grit and toughness to obviously overcome and come back against a very, very difficult team. And then integrity, simply doing what you say you're going to do. But, we can hold our head high regardless of the result. And we talk about it all the time. Outcome over ego, right? Yep. It's not about you. It's about us. And we also talk about all the time of like, how we go out and play is ultimately we're giving it's for the collective group, right? And we have to be willing to do the things that are different. And because we maybe don't always have the most talented players on the field, but we want to have a mindset that like we want every team that plays us when they walk out of Park West or they get done playing us, holy crap, we do not want to play them again. They were absolutely miserable. Yeah. Just because we're relentless in what we do and how we carry ourselves and what we do.